I want to tell you a story about a project I did with an airline. So they came to us and said, we lose millions every year from our flights being delayed and cancelled. And we don't know how to handle this. We need to save money. We need to figure out how we communicate those changes, not only to our customers, but also to our staff. How can you help us? And this, to this day, is one of my favorite projects I've ever worked on because it was a real end-to-end project through the design process. Discover, define, design, deliver. And you kind of rarely get to do that in the design world. It's either kind of diving deep into one part or the other. So we went out and we did a whole bunch of discovery work with so many different people around the world, customers, frontline staff, pilots, flight attendants, ground staff. We did a whole bunch of discovery. Then we did a whole bunch of co-design, co-creation, ideation to come up with solutions to solve the challenges that we uncovered. And then, of course, we wrote a series and went through a series of business cases to help the organization figure out their funding strategy for which ones they were going to build and which ones they were going to sort of put on a roadmap. So we left them with a whole series of business cases, which we then delivered, and a roadmap. So what do you imagine the number one thing on that roadmap was in the kind of flight cancellation and flight delay space? Do you think it was a £10 million website? Do you think it was text messaging services that go out to customers? What do you think it was? Well, let me tell you. So one of the stories was we went out. So again, we were speaking to customers all over the world in different airports in different settings, speaking to pilots, ground staff, really getting an understanding of like what happens when a flight is delayed and how could we potentially improve from a human experience on what people want to know and want to understand. Part of this is we got to spend some time with the engineers because we needed to see, well, what is that moment where the delay gets communicated? Like, would it be something where the engineer is able to send a message straight out to those customers so they know instantaneously? How could we improve this? How can we think about this problem with an open mind? So we were lucky enough to get security clearance and follow these engineers around for kind of half a day. Honestly, I have the best job. Follow these engineers around for half a day from their tea room out to when they got a call out, see what they did with the aircraft. It was amazing. So we'd be speaking to them about what they're doing. And they'd be like fiddling with they'd have a walkie-talkie and an iPad and they'd be fiddling with their iPad. And then all of a sudden they'd be like, oh, well, we've got to go back to the tea room and get a new iPad because our iPads only have 30 minutes of battery. So by the time they went out there, looked at the aircraft, the iPad was dead and then I had to go back. So it was causing all this additional time to the delay and then even further more time to when that message got passed down to customers. So the number one thing on that roadmap that the CEO invested in immediately was new iPads for the engineers or the engineering team. Nothing that groundbreaking, nothing earth-shattering, just new iPads, upgraded iPads so that they could get their job done quicker. And I love telling that story because we never would have found that out by actually having the engineers even come in and do an interview with us, or having the engineers fill in a survey. And human-centered design is all about getting out into the environment that people work, live, and operate in and understanding what happens. And so that's what we did. We got the engineers new iPads. We ended up saving that company over 33 million in flight delays every year because of that one change. There was a whole bunch of other things that happened. But moral of the story, get out and spend time with your customers.